Hey, this is Jason from Misery Index, and welcome to Metallivecolombia.com. Cheers.
To Metallivecolombia. Thanks for doing this
Gracias.
interview with us. Steve Wright was the producer for the album Here's to Theory. I'd like to know how did you contact him and why did you choose him to produce this album?
Um, he actually mixed our previous album, Traders. He didn't record it, but he mixed it, and we were recommended to him from a friend in Baltimore who recommended him highly, and we went there and he mixed Traders, and we were very happy with that. So when it became time to go to do Heirs of Thievery, we decided to do everything there, record and mix and master.
Misery Index albums have a very natural sound. You don't use much digital distortion. The drums, for example, sound very acoustic. That sound is a decision, a choice of yourselves as musicians, or does it have to do with the producer's will?
It's all us. We really want to keep it as natural as possible. But given the nature of the music, sometimes it's very fast and the guitars are very low, so there is some trigger on the kick drum, but that's it. There's no trigger on the snare or anything else. But we prefer to have it acoustic and real sounding, and it's part of our aesthetic as being kind of grindy death metal band. So
It is a good choice to make a live show to sound the most alike to the recording also.
correct. You can't cheat live.
Yes.
Don't record anything you can't play live.
As for the production, what was the approach of the album? The drums, the guitars, the vocals. What was the emphasis? What did you emphasize?
Well, it's kind of like everything. The whole song is what we think about the most, how it feels, and just the guitar riffs and how they flow into one another, and we really want to create memorable songs. So that's the first thing, is to have catchiness to it, a certain hook or something.
Some people must be wondering the reason why Mr. Sparky Boys is not in the band anymore. Would you like to talk about the reasons why he left or why he is not in the band anymore?
Yeah, he was doing it for a long time, and it got to the point where he just wasn't feeling it as much anymore, and he wanted to stay home and not tour as much. And he also had some growing health problems with his wrist. It's called carpal tunnel syndrome in English, where there's pain in the wrist, so it got very painful for him to play every day. So he just bowed out after we recorded the album.
But is he able to continue playing or does he have to?
As far as I know, I haven't talked to him. He's a very private person, so.
Darren Morris replaced Mr. Boris. I'd like to know if he was the first choice to replace him, or if you had any other options.
I would think, yeah, he was the first choice. He was a friend of ours from home in Maryland, and we known him for a long time. Great, exceptional guitarist, and we'd worked with him before in other capacities, like doing some side project stuff for fun.
Criminal elements, you know.
Exactly. And also, he has a home studio where we demo our songs at his house. So he was a natural guy to go to, and we're all happy.
Misery Index albums have a very attractive artwork. I'd like to know who is the person who designs the front covers of the albums.
Well, I talked to our record label Relapse about it, and I sort of myself come up with a concept based on the lyrics, something that puts all the ideas of the lyrics in one artistic image, and then there's an artist that works for Relapse Records named Orion Landau, and I talk to him and go back and forth and work out the idea, and he does it for us. It's a guy who lives in Oregon.
Your music is very complex, very hard to play. When you are in the studio, do you use to make a lot of takes of your songs, or you try to just record them in one take with?
Oh, it's a lot of takes, especially working with producer Steve Wright we were talking about earlier. He's very critical and pushes us to get as tight as possible, and sometimes 20, 30 times, and you know.
Lots of changes of the songs happen during the recording.
Some, it works out, you know. Once we hear it recorded, we're kind of like, oh, maybe we shouldn't do that. Let's try and move this part to here, and we did that with a couple songs. Sleeping Giants was done that way, and Day of the Dead was also written while we were in the studio. So, a couple.
Do you have to submit much your music to the opinions of the producers? I mean, if the producer doesn't like something in one song, do you have to change it?
No, he's not like a producer who's, you know, sort of pushing us to do anything we wouldn't do. He kind of works for us, but he'll make suggestions and say, okay, you know. So he'll make some suggestions, and we'll listen to them. We'll try it. If we don't like it, then we'll.
You are used to make a pre-production of your music before entering to the studio. How does this process work? How do you, what do you do with the songs when you are in that pre-production work?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, our new guitarist, Darren, he has a home studio. So we go over to his house, and if we have an idea, we'll track it on guitar to a click track. And then we'll try and mess around with different drum ideas there. And Adam will come over and try different ideas just to see what it sounds like, you know. And
Your index is to have fun. You don't see it like a job or something like that. But do you dream of making of music a way of living someday?
well, if you're gonna play death metal or grind, and you can't really make a living off it. Very few bands. I think maybe Cannibal Corpse might, or some others, but we live month to month, and this is what we do full time. But I think I wouldn't want to play any other kind of music. Maybe after the band, I'll just do something for fun at home. But I think that this kind of music isn't made for money.
Besides the music, have you got another profession, a different job?
Yeah, we sort of do odds and ends, like work at nightclubs or whatever sort of work we can pick up to get along.
I know you like a lot bird watching, hiking, camping.
Yeah, that's like a hobby. But I do a lot of that when I'm not, especially when you get home from tour and you've been in nightclubs every night and around smoking, drinking. It's just like nice to get outside and get away from it.
You're a very cultured person. You like to read a lot. What's your favorite writer?
I like a lot of fiction from the classic Russian writers, Dostoevsky and such, and also science fiction like Isaac Asimov, George Orwell, a lot of nonfiction stuff too, like.
What are your favorite metal bands?
Well, I like all kinds of metal, so I guess it started in the 80s, you know, with all that kind of stuff like Iron Maiden and then in the early 90s, bands like Morbid Angel and Carcass and stuff, and then today I like bands like, I don't know, Gojira and other stuff which is more on the fringe like Ghost,
what band do you think would be indispensable in a metal collection?
Morbid Angel, Covenant.
Good choice. You kept in mind the idea of coming to South America a time before. I'd like to know what makes you feel attracted to the metal scene this side of the globe.
It's just a way for us to connect with the local people and the local culture. As we're in a band, but we're also metalheads, and to be able to come here and meet people who like the same stuff and experience life here and see the country, that's something more than just the metal connection. It's like more on a human level, I guess, but that's important to us. And coming here to Colombia is like it's almost like a dream. We never probably would have been able to come here otherwise. So thanks to metal for that.
What do you know about Colombia?
Knew they had 1,800 species of birds in one country, so I was attracted to the nature, the different climates, the mountains, the forest and stuff like that. I'd only seen videos from nature videos and stuff, and the very different cultures here. I know there's different levels of history here from different kinds of people who brought what their own sort of way of living.
You like a lot history. You are very interested in this stuff. You read a lot of about movements, social movements. Are you interested particularly in a political movement, especially I don't know.
Yeah, from a certain angle. I like to look at it from a standpoint of media and how media influences culture and how people get their information and stuff like that, and how political movements and such get their ideas out there. And
Media is like it exists right now.
yeah, especially well, it's how people get their news and information. So that's one of the most fundamental like aspects of any society or culture is how they come to understand what is and what's not possible in their life. So it's really important in America too, because there's so much money and so much corporate power that controls it that it's something that I find fascinating. So
What are your expectations for your show tonight here in Bogotá?
well, we're going to give it everything we have, and hopefully everybody's going to have fun. That's the most important thing. I noticed people here seem really happy in general. There's a lot more people smiling, and I mean, even despite the wealth disparity, it seems like people get along with each other and are generally happy and positive or something.
Thanks a lot for coming. Thanks a lot for being able
I'm happy to be
with
here.
you.
Thanks a lot for being interested in our band.
Hoping this is not the last time you are here.
No, I'm coming back.
We hope.
I'm definitely coming back for the travel, so
Thank you very much.
thanks. Gracias.